couple decided to murder Sierra's father, Daniel Halsett. And what's chilling is the video evidence that police found on Sierra's phone of both of them laughing about murdering Sierra's father.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After your dream, day 3 capture somebody. Wow! Don't put that on the camera!
The teens.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here, man, you guys don't know what we do, let me break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel, watching the videos entirely, man, commenting down below, and most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video drop. Greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Here's how rare your body actually is.
Talk about
First off, 10% of people can touch their nose with their tongue, including me. Next, only 2% of people worldwide actually have natural blonde hair. And red hair is just as rare, with again only 2% of people actually having it. Only about 1% of people are ambidextrous. This means that you're not right-handed or left-handed. You can write with both hands just as easily.
Lucky.
Next, only 10% of people have something called Darwin's tubercle. A little ridge on your ear, and people who have it actually say that they have a better sense of voice tonality. 5% of people have tied tongue, but from what I've seen, I thought it was a lot more common. Next is outie belly button, and only 4% of the population actually has this. And finally, only 6% of people have a butt or cleft chin. And make sure you follow for more.
Pictures you have to look at twice to understand. This toothpaste looks like a nose. Yeah, I wouldn't use that. This person's fried egg ended up looking like a chickadee. Whoa. This girl looks like she has extremely skinny legs, but it's actually just her track pants. This magazine cover looks like this woman's face. Oof. It looks as if these people are on a really tall building, but if you turn the image sideways, they're actually just lying down. By the way, did you know you can customize the font on your phone to make it look like your handwriting? Just press this button on my profile and try it. Why do these steaks look like my runners? Now that's what you call fast food.
Really? Pictures tell a story, man.
What would you do in this situation? This girl was coming home from work when she found her neighbors doing this.
I don't know if I can visit Mexico.
What are they doing?
Why?
Bro, they have the scariest urban legends.
For real?
Yeah, they got La Chuza, which is a shape-shifting witch that looks like an owl and is 7 feet tall with the face of a woman. And you're not supposed to go outside if you hear whistling in your window.
What else?
Oh, and La Llorona. She usually stays near bodies of water. She wears a white gown, long hair, and she's always crying for her children that she actually drowned. So you're next if you see her while driving on the side of the road.
Oh my god.
There's like this abandoned Disney park in Veracruz, Mexico.
What about it?
It has a statue that moves at night. There was 2 people exploring the abandoned park and caught it on video. Fam, you gotta check this out.
No, aguanta, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien. Deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, güey, eso no se
Dog locked in.
No digas perras mamadas, no digas mamadas. Güey, es que era el vestido también así, güey. Amarillo.
And it's static, frozen. I'm good on Mexico.
But they do have beautiful women.
You right, we might have to risk it.
Oh, really? Well, killed me is that the dog was locked in, man, watching the clips, bro. Even the dog, man, is seeking the truth, too.
This is the ugliest woman in the whole world. That is the sad, unofficial title this woman received in the 1900s. Her name is Maryanne Beavenon, and this is her story. She was born in London in 1874 to a middle-class family, and in 1894 she became a nurse. She married Thomas Beavenon in 1903, but only 3 years later she was struck by a rare disease that doctors didn't know much about. The hormonal disease is known as acromegaly, which affects the bones. This causes the bones to grow 2 to 3 times more than normal, and usually only affects the hands and feet. But her case was severe, and it affected her whole body. As you can tell by the photos, her appearance changed drastically in just a few years. Her husband, although confused about what was happening to his wife, stuck by her side until he tragically died of a stroke in 1914, and she was left to raise 4 children alone. Her disease even caused her to lose her job, but she was determined to do what she had to for her children. She was forced by her predicament to join a contest, which was the ugliest woman in the world, where she won first prize. The media would pay her small amounts to take photos and write horror stories about her. Honestly, she should have won Best Mother in the World award for doing all this for her children. Due to all the media attention, she was actually invited to work at the Dreamland Circus on Coney Island in 1920. For 13 years, she worked in the freak show business, suffering being called a monster, a freak, being beaten up, all to watch her children grow. On December 26, 1933, she died of natural causes.
Hey man, like you said, they called her the world's ugliest woman, man. She was the world's best mother, man, from what I was hearing. She did all that for her kids. The world, man, can be a cruel place sometimes. You know, everybody's beautiful in their own ways. Just can't look at the looks, man. You gotta look inside.
How rare is your body? Less than 6% of people can vibrate their eyes. I didn't even know that was possible. 33% of people have an astigmatism. This makes lights look blurry and fuzzy, just like this photo. And 60% of people can make a roaring noise with their jaw. They can control a muscle that most people can't. And 14% of people don't have a palmaris longus. And that's the muscle that sticks out like this when you flex your hand. And only 33% of people can whistle. I can you? And less than 3% of people have an X on both of their palms. Go look at your palms right now. Do you have them? It's said to be a sign of strong character. And only 11% of people have naturally curly hair. Is this you?
Scary things hidden in photos.
Yeah, me.
Urban legends that ended up being real, part 20.
Crazy.
Escalante Petrified Forest. It's known for its ancient, fossilized trees and otherworldly landscapes, and the park actually attracts visitors from around the world. But those who visit are often warned of a chilling curse that is said to happen to anyone who dares to take pieces of petrified wood from the forest. There have been letters sent to the park's rangers that tell stories of broken lives, sickness, accidents, and relentless bad luck, all because of taking pieces of petrified wood. In these letters, desperate people beg for forgiveness, hoping that returning the stolen fragments will lift the curse. One chilling story comes from a man named Daniel, who visited the Escalante Petrified Forest in 2015. Ignoring the warnings, he pocketed a small piece of petrified wood as a keepsake. Soon after returning home, his life took a dark turn. Within weeks, he lost his job, his car was totaled in an accident, and he was plagued by strange noises at night, scratching sounds, whispers, and the feeling of being watched. Desperate to end the torment, Daniel mailed the wood back to the park along with a letter pleading for forgiveness. He swore as soon as the package was sent, the strange occurrences stopped happening.
This teen and her
Don't take that
boyfriend
wood.
murdered her father because he didn't approve of their relationship. 16-year-old Sierra Halseth and 18-year-old Aaron Guerrero started dating in June 2020 to December 2020 until Sierra's father found out that the two wanted to run away to LA, so he told Sierra to stop seeing Aaron. Obviously, Sierra and Aaron were not too happy about this, and on April 2021, the couple decided to murder Sierra's father, Daniel Halseth. On this day, Sierra and Aaron stabbed Daniel 70 times and then left his body in his garage to burn. They then stole Daniel's car and withdrew hundreds of dollars from his bank account. They tried to run away together but then were caught by authorities 4 days later at a train station in Salt Lake City. And what's chilling is the video evidence that police found on Sierra's phone of both of them laughing about murdering Sierra's father.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Appearing day 3 after marrying somebody. Don't put that on the camera.
The teens claim that Sierra's father mistreated her and that's why they did what they did. But her family says that that's a lie and that she did this because she wanted to be with Aaron and her father didn't let her. But eventually they pleaded guilty and were sentenced to life in prison with a possibility of parole in 22 years.
Man, the things love will do, bro, will like twist your mind and make you do unthinkable things. And they put that on camera and they was laughing too. What has this world come to, Seekers, man? Think before you act.
The man
man you just saw in that video was Andrew McGau. Before he disappeared, Andrew was a pretty well-known mountaineer and kayaker. In his life, Andrew fell in love with the sport of kayaking, and he became very well known in the sea kayaking community because he would set off solo on his small kayak and travel great distances across the ocean. But his biggest goal in life and challenge was to cross the Tasman Sea. Andrew made his first attempt to cross the Tasman Sea in December of 2006, but he called it off after one night when he discovered that he was having trouble staying warm while sleeping in the kayak overnight. But on January 11th, 2007, he wanted to try again. But it was during this voyage that he would vanish into thin air. So he set off on January 11th, but on February 9th, Andrew sent out a distress call. In this call, he said, "Do you copy? This is Kayak 1. Do you copy? Over. I've got an emergency situation. I'm in a kayak about 30 kilometers from Milford Sound. I need a rescue. My kayak's sinking, fell off into the sea, and I'm going down."
Oh.
It's really eerie because if you search Andrew's name, a couple of blog posts pop up that people made in the days after he was declared missing, with headlines that read along the lines of, "Let's hope he is all right." Andrew's partly flooded kayak was discovered on February 10th floating in the sea, but Andrew was never found. Eerily, his camera was still left in the kayak, along with the memory stick that chronicled his journey up until the time that he went missing. That's what the recordings from the beginning of this TikTok were taken from. To this day, nobody knows exactly what happened to Andrew. There are theories about killer waves that came out of nowhere, but his body's never been recovered, and no trace of him, no bones, no clothing has ever been found.
Here are some things that look like food, but sadly are not. Now make sure you don't eat this popcorn because they're actually tiny rocks and that could break your teeth. And no, these are not jelly beans, these are also rocks. And don't be fooled by this one, that is not orange juice. I'm sure you can take a guess what it is. And don't eat this raspberry or you'll be going straight to the hospital. It's actually a poisonous bug. And no, they're not noodles, they're actually rubber bands. I can't be the only one who thought this was a piece of broccoli. A nice baguette. Just kidding, that's a cat. And this person took a bite out of this clay thinking it was chocolate. Ew.
Crazy facts you
Whoa,
won't believe.
what the heck?
Humans share 50% of their DNA with bananas. There's a planet made of diamonds in our galaxy. There's more stars in the universe than grains of sand on every place in Earth. Bananas are berries, but strawberries aren't. Imagine having facts like this delivered to you every day. I found this app called Nibble, and it's a great way to dive into quick, fun lessons on any topic you can imagine. From art to science to finance, Nibble's got it all covered in bite-sized lessons. With Nibble's 10-minute interactive lessons, you'll learn much faster. It's like my personal knowledge hack I use to learn things quickly. So if you want to learn things fast, try out Nibble today and learn in a different way.
Because of this case, I absolutely fear getting onto public transit. In 2008, Vince Lee beheaded 22-year-old Timothy McLean on a Greyhound bus in Manitoba, Canada. This all happened on July 30th of that year when Vince sat next to Tim on the bus from Winnipeg to Edmonton when Vince pulled out a knife and began repeatedly stabbing Tim. The bus driver and passengers ran out of the bus, called police, and watched as Vince decapitated, mutilated, and cannibalized Tim. When the police arrived, it took 5 hours to negotiate with Vince, and they eventually arrested him when he tried to escape from the bus. The crazy part about this case is that Vince was not held responsible for Tim's murder. He was first charged with second-degree murder, but he pleaded not guilty because he suffered from schizophrenia. Vince said that he heard voices in his head that told him that Tim was evil and he should be executed. The judge ordered Vince to be sent to a psychiatric facility and he was released in 2017. He now lives in Manitoba and has changed his name to Will Lee Baker. And the public was pretty upset about this because they feared that if he decided to stop taking his meds one day, will he attack again?
I ain't taking Greyhounds. I'm gonna have to cross that off the list, but we're gonna be extra careful. He got away. He got off too. How?
Top 5 most expensive houses in the world. Fort Belfield Pond, USA, 248 million. The Odeon Tower Penthouse, Monaco, 330 million. Villa Leopolda, France, 750 million. Antillia, India, 1 billion. Buckingham Palace, UK, 2.9 billion. We might not own these mansions, but what if you could clear up everything in your living room and start fresh in seconds? Let me show you the magic of Color.ai. You just upload a picture of your living room, click generate and watch the AI work its magic. And boom, your room is completely cleared and ready with a fresh and amazing new look. And just like that, in minutes you have a completely transformed space without lifting a single piece of furniture. Perfect for someone who's moving into a new space or homesteaders who don't have a budget for a real staging service. Want to see how your home can be transformed? Try Coloff.ai and try your dream space today. Link in my bio.
Worst design fails ever.
Okay.
Someone didn't want to sell a piece of their land to the city, which is why this road looks like this. This part of the ceiling comes down low and it looks really awkward. I would not want to use this toilet. It's a tight squeeze. Okay, someone literally cut out a huge part of this floor just so the door can open. What is going on here? This side of the gas pump has never been used, probably because there's no room for any car except maybe a motorcycle. Hit the plus for more.
That motorcycle one, bro, it's crazy. Why did they? You can make it like that. That's definitely a design flaw. And the one with the carpet, you know, swinging out. But having to cut the carpet, that's extreme, bro. Just change the door or something, man. That's an edit. We can see that. And spending $2 billion on a home's diabolical.
Is reportedly dead after falling off a 3-story balcony. When the news first broke, a lot of people, including myself, thought that this was a hoax. But TMZ has since published images showing portions of his body, and the tattoos are matching up. Several witnesses also saw Liam fall from his 3rd-story balcony. We still don't know if this was intentional or an accident. This is where Liam's body reportedly landed. We know the incident happened shortly after 5 p.m. Witnesses say that Liam was acting erratic in the hotel lobby earlier. He apparently smashed his laptop and had to be carried back to his room. We still don't know if someone was in the room with him or if he was completely alone. I'm assuming Liam was still in Argentina because of Niall Horan's concert earlier this month, where he reunited with all of the One Direction members. In the summer of 2021, Liam revealed his struggles with alcohol and prescription drugs in the past, and said that at that time he had thoughts of taking his own life. There is also speculation that this outburst had to do with his ex-fiancée. Her attorney has been trying to send him a cease and desist to stop him from contacting her. All in all, we really don't know if this was an accident or intentional or what caused it. If there's any more breaking news or updates, I will leave a comment below.
5 facts you didn't know that one day could save your life. If your car ever falls into a body of water, the first thing you have to do is crack open a window or door. If you don't do this, the water pressure on your car will be too great and you'll be effectively boxed inside your car, and you'll have to wait for your car to fully fill with water before you can get out. Next, if you're trapped in rubble, do not scream. Screaming will only strain your vocal cords and cause you to lose your voice. What you're going to want to do is grab an object and tap in intervals of 3. Rescuers will pick up on this auditory rhythm, and once you hear them coming closer to you, then you can start screaming and they'll find you. If you see a tornado that looks like it's not moving, it's coming towards you, so you better run. If you ever get into an Uber, always check the child lock. Make sure it's set to unlock, because if the child lock is on, you're stuck in the car with no way out. Finally, if you ever fall onto the tracks at a subway station, don't waste your time trying to climb back out. They actually have crawl spaces built into the subway tracks that you can hide in until rescuers come and safely extract you.
That Uber fact, man, just got to me. I think I've gotten to a couple of Ubers and they had the child lock on, and I didn't even think too much about it. Now I'm about to be in my P's and Q's now.
Months back, I went to a film festival and I watched a movie that I can't stop thinking about, and the release date is so soon. It's been in my top horror movies of 2024, and I have a little sneak peek, and I can't wait for you guys to see.
What do you want?
We're in trouble. I saw you come out of the house just now. You went to the car to get something. You left this door open behind you. Somebody went inside.
What?
I saw you go to your car. And you left the door open. Somebody slipped inside. They're in there now. I didn't see anyone. I know that. Your back was turned.
What are you doing standing outside my house?
Just open the door. I'm trying to help you.
You opening that door? Risky choice.
He sat grinning on national television, pleading for his wife to come home. He was the one who had murdered her and dismembered her body. Some people felt sorry for 25-year-old Mitchell Key as he sat on the sofa on the This Morning TV show. He was being interviewed by Richard Madeley and really scrutinised. He was asked by Richard Madeley, "Did you kill her?" Mitchell, grinning, replied, No, I just wish someone would listen to me." Some eagle-eyed viewers couldn't help but to think that something was off with this so-called grieving husband. Lindsay and Mitchell from Southport had got married in 1995. Lindsay was just 17 years old at the time. Now, the pair went on to have 2 children together, and Lindsay was a great mum. Despite things seeming normal to the outside world, behind closed doors, Mitchell was a violent man. Lindsay had even got the courage to leave Mitchell a number of times and seek help from a women's domestic violence support service. However, Mitchell was extremely intimidating and manipulative. The pair ended up back together, and then around Christmas 1998, the mother of 2 vanished. It would take an entire 2 months before she was actually reported missing, and this wasn't by her husband. Social services had to get police involved. Suddenly, Mitchell was under the spotlight, and police were questioning him about the last time he'd seen his wife. He claimed he hadn't seen her since Christmas Day. He told them that she'd just upped and left him without any consideration for their children. This really didn't fit what Lindsay's friends and family knew of her. He painted this sob story of himself being a victim, and he also told the press, "I thought she would have come back for the kids, but she obviously does not care about us anymore." He knew this was a vicious lie. He even went as far as to concoct a story to authorities that he'd once seen her in a black Mercedes in Southport, and she'd sent him a letter saying that she'd run off with another man. The police knew that Mitchell was extremely suspicious. He was seen kind of grinning and didn't seem to be acting the way that you actually would if your wife had vanished. They had no way, though, to prove that he was involved in his wife's disappearance. Over the next 18 months, Mitchell almost went on this strange publicity spree, going on different TV shows talking about the case. It seemed like he was enjoying the attention and goading police. Now, Mitchell sent one police officer a Christmas card with a bottle of hair dye as a gift. He put on the card, "Get rid of the grey bits to have extra confidence." Mitchell even allowed a documentary crew to follow him around filming to create some sort of show. Ultimately, police realised that they were going to have to interrogate Mitchell. They ended up arresting him, and after a couple of days of interrogation, he ended up admitting to the hideous crime. He'd callously and brutally strangled his wife to death. This was after they'd got in an argument because Lindsay said she wanted a divorce. Once she was dead, he hid her body in a bedroom and covered the cracks in the door so that her children wouldn't smell the body. Chillingly, Mitchell had actually convinced his butcher brother Elliot to help him dismember her body. Mitchell then scattered her body parts over various parts of the seaside town. Elliot was given 7 years in prison but only spent 4 years behind bars. Mitchell was given 17 years and has applied for parole numerous times, but this has always been denied.
Here are some facts you probably didn't know that one day could save your life.
Talk about it.
If you ever have to eat crickets or similar insects, chew them. Do not swallow them alive. They have spines on their legs which can cling to your throat, blocking your airways, causing you to suffocate to death. If your water ever smells like cinnamon, do not drink it. People often use it to cover up the scent of poison. Everyone hates red eyes in photos, but if your pupils reflect white in a picture, it could be a sign that something is seriously wrong with your eyes, such as cataracts, retina problems, or even eye cancer. If there's ever a shirt or object on the windshield of your car, get in immediately without removing the object. This is a common method that kidnappers use to distract you from getting in your car. If you're ever scuba diving and a giant octopus tries to grab a hold of you, do not try to pry him off. The key to survival is to get him off of one of his anchor points like a rock or a pipe, because he can't pull you down without using the leverage from his anchor.
Interesting. We find octopuses out here.
Psychology hacks you need to know. If someone is trying to make you decide something in a hurry, they're probably giving you a bad deal. Walk away. If someone's starting to have a panic attack, start breathing loudly and regularly. The person that is panicking will subconsciously start breathing with you. When someone in a group of people laughs, they tend to look at the person that they like the most. Nervousness and excitement have the same body reaction, so if you're nervous for a speech, try to convince yourself that you're actually excited. If you can get someone to contribute the idea, they are more likely to accept it. If you think someone is watching you, fake a yawn and then watch them. If you whisper to someone, it's likely that they'll whisper back, even when they have no reason to keep their voice down. Follow for more.
Really whispering? That helps?
Weird facts about the world, part 1. It snows in the Sahara Desert. Coca-Cola does not exist in only 2 countries. Colombia's brightest rainbow is in a river. You're always 7 years behind Ethiopia.
What the hell? So what year is Ethiopia in there right now?
Can someone please explain to me how a person can get stuck inside a turned-on walk-in oven? At around 9:30 p.m. on Saturday, police were called to this Walmart on Mumford Road in Halifax after a 19-year-old woman was found inside one of their walk-in ovens in the bakery section. Police say that the 19-year-old woman was already deceased when they arrived, and they're still investigating what happened. This Walmart has been closed since Saturday. I genuinely don't understand how someone can lock themselves inside a turned on oven. If you have experience working with these walk-in ovens, please let me know how it works, because I literally have no words.
Her son vanished and was found dead 6 years later. In a disturbing twist, police now believe she has been murdered. Lola Carabiva is a 61-year-old woman described by loved ones as beautiful, kind, an amazing woman and a true friend. She was originally from Uzbekistan and didn't actually have any other relatives in the US apart from her husband, 65-year-old Vladimir. She was last seen alive on October the 12th at her house in Philadelphia. She'd just come back from a trip to Europe, which she had been really looking forward to, and neighbours believe she'd been away for roughly 2 or 3 weeks. She was reported missing and police immediately started looking into where the woman may be. The first port of call was her home, and after 2 unsuccessful searches, they finally had a breakthrough on the 3rd search. They made a horrifying discovery on the 16th of October. Her lifeless body was found wrapped in plastic and taped up in a wardrobe in her home. Police also discovered a dark stain on the floor which they believe may have been blood. So what could the motive be for this horrific murder, and who could have committed it? Interestingly, police are looking into the possibility that an argument could have started between Vladimir and his wife. It's thought that this may have been around her late son. Now, the son disappeared back in 2004 and was then found dead 6 years later. He'd actually been out hiking and was tragically just 19 years old when he vanished. It's reported that the 12th of October would have been his birthday. Vladimir has been arrested and charged with abuse of a corpse, and although there's obviously suspicion surrounding him, he's not actually been charged with her murder as yet. Lola's cause of death is yet to be determined.
Stories that sound fake are 100% true. In August 2010, a small passenger plane in the Democratic Republic of Congo was getting ready to take off. But just about 2 hours into their flight, tragedy struck. People living in a nearby town saw the plane plummet to the ground in a nosedive. There were 18 people aboard and only 1 survived the crash. Authorities couldn't determine what caused the plane to crash. The fuel tank was full and there wasn't anything wrong with the engine. But just 2 days after the crash took place, the lone survivor of the crash woke up from their coma and explained what happened. The man explained that towards the end of their flight, a flight attendant was checking in with the passengers when she suddenly freaked out and ran to the cockpit. The passengers on the plane began to look around to see what was wrong, and they immediately figured it out. Walking towards them from the back of the plane down the aisle was a live crocodile.
What?
Panicking, all of the passengers ran towards the front of the plane away from the animal. This caused a sudden shift of weight inside of the small plane, which led to them crashing.
Don't bring crocodiles on planes.
Who brought a crocodile on a plane, and how did that even get past security or something like that? That's, if you heard that story, somebody told that story to you, like just walking, or you heard it, or like you said, you wouldn't believe it. That story doesn't even sound real at all. But it's true. It's pretty explanatory. Don't bring alligators on a plane or crocodiles.
Bizarre and impossible things to be done. How is this possible?
I'm calling cap on that. Or special effects. Is he wearing wires? That's another possibility.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you. Part 19. Oscar Wilde was once quoted saying that he was addicted to giving top and said that it greatly inspired him as a writer. The first ever pregnancy test involved injecting a woman's urine directly into a female frog's skin. And if the woman was pregnant, a few hours later, the frog would lay eggs. Paul Revere would ride from Boston to Newport to cheat on his wife. No, babe, the redcoats are actually coming this time. In 1955, the KGB tried to blackmail the president of Indonesia with video footage of him making love with a Russian woman disguised as a flight attendant. However, this backfired because the president did not care and requested the tape so he could flex on his friends back home. Giving someone the finger actually dates back 2,000 years, and it used to mean that you were threatening someone with sex. So while today it means f you, back then it meant I'm going to fuck you.
Here are some humans that have actual superpowers. So Stephen Wiltshire is an autistic artist who can draw an entire cityscape inclusive of all architectural details from his memory after only seeing it once. And speaking of superior memory, Rebecca Sharrock is a woman who can remember with fine detail every day of her entire life. Ben Underwood was a young boy who had sonar vision, meaning that he used echolocation like a bat to interact with the world around him, playing basketball and video games using only sound. Jo Cameron has a genetic mutation that doesn't allow her to feel any kind of pain, whether it's mental or physical, allowing her to burn herself on a stove for minutes at a time without realizing what's happening. Thai Nagak is an 80-year-old Vietnamese man who hasn't slept in 50 years after contracting a fever, and now he just works through the night without ever getting sleepy. Dean Karnazes is able to work past physical exhaustion and has once ran for 350 miles in a row without sleep for 3 days, and as a result, scientists have concluded that he could run until he died of old age. And finally, Wim Hof is able to withstand freezing temperatures and exposure to direct ice for periods of time that medical experts didn't believe were possible, like this 1.5-hour ice bath. Pretty cool, right?
Money facts that will blow.
People like that always freaking blow my mind, man. He stood in that ice bath in the Arctic water for like over an hour. I even hate being in the over there in like a minute or something like that. So they definitely have some special abilities, man. Crazy. Tell me down below, man. What ability would you guys seekers get if you could have any?
Blow your mind. Content creators on OnlyFans made more money than all of the NBA players combined.
What?
Karenikov has made more in 3 years than Klay Thompson has in his recent 3-year NBA contract. If you've been subscribed to Netflix since 2007, you've paid them almost $2,000. If you had instead invested that $2,000 into Netflix back then, you would have over $350,000 today. Paul Walker secretly bought a $9,000 engagement ring for an Iraq veteran that he overheard in a jewelry store telling his soon-to-be wife that he wasn't going to be able to afford it. Disney spends $50 million a year on fireworks. That's over $130,000 a night. Amazon will lose over $1 billion a year if it went 1 second slower. These are the average retirement savings in the United States by age group. The average for under 35 is $50,000. Average by the time you're 65 is over $600,000. The New York Stock Exchange is owned by a company named Intercontinental Exchange, which has its stock listed on the New York Stock Exchange.
That New York Stock Exchange and that other stock exchange, that looks like some weird things going on, bro. Can't they just like mess with the numbers or something like that? If you really think about it. That's an edit. Call them out, Suckers.
This is the age of consent in every country.
So the highest age of consent goes to Bahrain at 21, followed by Nepal and South Korea at 20. India, Turkey, Vietnam, Argentina, and Egypt are some countries that place it right at 18, while Mexico, Ireland, and Cyprus have it marked at 17. A majority of countries have it at 16, including Canada, Russia, South Africa, Australia, Spain, Norway, and most of the United States. Inching a bit lower to 15, we have a lot of European countries, as well as Thailand, Costa Rica, and North Korea. 14 brings us to China, Bangladesh, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Brazil, and Colombia. 13 is actually the age of consent in Japan, Niger, and Burkina Faso. The Philippines and Angola have it set right at 12. And the lowest age of consent of them all is Nigeria at just 11 years old. But some countries like Yemen, Pakistan, and Iran, there's no age of consent and you just need to be married.
How old were you when you realized
That's insane.
you've been drinking beer wrong your entire life? You were supposed to drink it warm. I know, I was shocked when I came to find this out. Warm, how warm? Well, it turns out most formulations of beer recipes, they're made to be enjoyed at cellar temperature. What's cellar temperature? Between 50 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So, okay, not too cold, but not warm. Well, there's more. Prepare to be blown away. The best beer manufacturers will actually recommend that you drink their beer room temperature, because their beer is so good that any temperature really you can enjoy it, but at room temperature you really get the full flavor and notes of the beer. And then here's the shocking one. The cold beer phenomenon, as in when everyone started chilling their beers to 41 degrees, 40 degrees, that was because there was a lot of bad beer, and cold beer makes bad beer taste decent.
Ooh.
I know. Do with that information as you see fit. And if you made it this far into the video, comment down, I love tacos! So I know that you made it to the end of the video.
Comment tacos.
Island of Tahiti.
Isn't that in Mulana or something like that? That Disney movie.
In real life.
They just brought it to life with animation. You see the similarities, you can see it. You see the grooves right there.
Facts that will mess with your perception of time. Betty White is actually older than sliced bread. By the time women were allowed to vote in Switzerland, NASA had already been driving a buggy on the moon. Karl Marx, the creator of communism, wrote a letter to Abraham Lincoln congratulating him on his re-election. Oxford University existed for hundreds of years before the founding of the Aztec Empire. The fax machine was invented the same year the first wagon crossed the Oregon Trail. The Ottoman Empire still existed the second to last time the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. That means that Turkey was not founded as a country until 15 years later. Star Wars came out the same year that the last guillotine execution was used in France. Follow for more.
Those possessions of times will mess you up.
I'm gonna ruin your childhood, part 13. Carl died in the beginning of the movie Up, and Russell is his guardian angel, trying to help him cross into heaven. Maybe that's why he had dreams of all of his memories with his wife. But what if Russell isn't just any guardian angel? What if he's Carl and Ellie's miscarried kid? Russell wasn't trying to earn a badge, he was trying to earn his wings.
They put things into
Please,
perspective.
I need your help. Can anybody tell me the name of this movie?
I see you. Sister, may we help you? You just lost the element of surprise, demon. Sister, this is a pre-trial hearing. We're going to have to ask you to sit down, officer.
I'm fine, Your Honor, no recess.
He's evil coming to New York.
Let me adjust the light
will alter your perception of reality. Part 1. Many iPhone users recall there being a robber emoji with a beanie, a black and white striped shirt, and a money bag thrown over his shoulder.
Yeah.
However, this emoji never existed. In Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader does not say the words, "Luke, I am your father." He actually says this.
No, I am the father.
There was never a Disney intro where Tinkerbell dotted the I in Disney with her wand. Curious George does not have a tail. He never did. And Pikachu never had a black tip at the end of his. The Fruit of the Loom logo does not have a cornucopia. And if you look at the logo's 130-year history, not once did it have a cornucopia in it. And contrary to popular belief, I was never verified on TikTok. But drop a follow and maybe this one will become a reality.
This former
That
teen
Fruit of the
mom star
Loom
is a
one.
pedophile who repeatedly downloaded CP materials on her cell phone. Meet Lorie Wicklouse, who was a star on the TV show Teen Mom when she was only 17. While Lorie appeared on the MTV show Teen Mom, she was actually videotaped giving her son up for adoption. And thank God she got that child out of her hands, because later on in life she would be arrested for some extremely disturbing things. So on August 13th, 2020, a 20-count indictment was handed down to Lorie, and it was an arrest warrant. Apparently, according to the police report, child sex abuse material had been found on Lorie's phone and her computer. Apparently, the Kentucky State Police Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force received a report from an anonymous person about what Lorie was doing online. Apparently, for some reason, she had uploaded child sex abuse material to a Dropbox account that was traced to her. This story goes to show that it's not always men that can be pedophiles, it can be women too. So after the trial, Lorie was found guilty and she was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison for the possession of CP. But she seems to be smugly smiling in prison and doesn't seem to care about the children that she hurt in doing these horrific things. And even on the day of her sentencing for her sex crimes, Lorie was placed in jail again for holding the court in contempt. So she hasn't exactly been a model prisoner, but thankfully she is still in prison. And once again, I'm just so glad that she ended up giving her baby up for adoption.
Carlos Rodriguez right here killed
Never
Zoe
know.
Campos right here because he was hallucinating and thought that she was a demon. He even sent a handwritten letter to detail the killing in 2013 and why he did it. He admitted that he was wrong and he wanted everyone to know the truth 5 to 6 years later. He stated he's not a murderer, he just committed a reckless act. That reckless act happened to be murder though. He said he was hallucinating after smoking some sort of synthetic marijuana. He started losing track of time and hallucinating, seeing Zoe as a demon. Fast forward 5 years after that incident, in 2018 and early 2019, that's when her skeletal remains were found. He also stated in his letter, as soon as she started to laugh, he heard a demonic scream and her face started to melt, according to him. That's when he snapped and started choking her, or what he thought was a demon at least. He claimed he wasn't in the right state of mind, however he knew he was wrong in this instance. Now Carlos ended up pleading guilty on August 15th of 2022. Because of the actions and the murder, he is facing life in prison for this. There's no way around this. Let me know your thoughts about this case in the comment section below, guys.
Stay away from drugs, man. That's the ultimate message. That really, like they said, it alters your mind, makes you see things that aren't there. Warps your perspective. I stay away from stuff like that always.
This is a good one. Let's talk about Wrinkles the Clown. Wrinkles is a clown based in Florida, and you can hire him to scare your misbehaving children. And there's even still an active phone number you can call, and you'll get sent to his voicemail to leave a request. The problem arose when he started showing up randomly all across Florida. Kids were reporting a clown would follow them home, even at night. There are several videos of people seeing Wrinkles the Clown outside of their house staring at them through the window. And there were also reports of him being on playgrounds waiting for children. This was all just so he could scare them. They even made a whole movie based on this clown because it was so terrifying. Let me know what you guys think about Wrinkles the Clown in the comment section.
Clowns are creepy, bro. Like that's dead.
Here's something no one's talking about. Trees and land absorbed almost no CO2 last year. And the consequences of that is not just devastating, but it's something most scientists haven't even factored in to their climate models. I mean, just look at what's happening in Finland. You see, humans emit a bunch of carbon into the atmosphere atmosphere each year. But thankfully, about half of all of our emissions is absorbed by the planet's oceans, forests, soils, and other natural carbon sinks. And carbon sinks being a phrase that scientists use to describe something that absorbs more carbon than it releases. But shockingly, this preprint study found that in 2023, Earth's land as a CO2 sink almost dropped to a net zero, the lowest it's been in over 2 decades. And it also showed that because of that drop, and we'll get into the reasons why, the ocean actually increased in CO2 absorption to compensate. And while that absorption plays a critical role, it also presents several dangers. One of which we just saw with Hurricane Helene in Milton, because the more carbon the ocean absorbs, the warmer they become, which then contributes to more and more extreme weather events. And what's happening in Finland is one of the craziest examples of this. W-Stub. They have one of the most ambitious net zero targets in the world, with aims to reach that target roughly 15 years ahead of other European countries. But despite cutting emissions by a massive 43% across all other sectors, because the amount of CO2 that their forests absorb in particular has declined by a staggering 90% from 2009 to 2022, Finland's net emissions are about the same levels as they were in the 1990s. It's as if nothing happened for 30 years. And this paper cited similar declines in regions around the world, like Europe, North America, and Southeast Asia, but most severely affected the Amazon rainforest. Shockingly, a severe drought towards the end half of 2023 caused the region to switch from being a carbon sink to becoming a net carbon source. Now honestly, the truth as to why this is happening is not fully understood, but 2023 was the hottest year on record, and researchers at least currently believe that these declines are primarily attributed to droughts, wildfires, and heat waves. Hopefully what happened in 2023 could be temporary and we could see a bounce back. And they say it is critical we do, because any hope of reaching net zero is impossible without nature.
This is all.
That's crazy to think about it. Maybe that's why all those like hurricanes, like I said, was the one I had in Florida, like Hurricane Milton and stuff, is because the ocean is absorbing too much CO2. We gotta take care of our planet, man. We don't want bad things to happen to it. That's crazy, especially about the fact about Finland. Like, they did all that work and it made it seem like it was for nothing.
Library room in the Conjuring house. It actually used to be Roger Perrin's bedroom, the father of the Perrin family, and he supposedly suffered multiple demonic attacks and even saw the ghost of the witch Bathsheba in this room. The current owners of the home have also seen this book fly off the shelf.
I would stay out of that home.
This is your Cuero Agua,
Simple.
one of the creepiest execution videos in the world, explained. The video that I'm about to explain is about 30 seconds long, and it's the creepiest and one of the most disturbing videos out there. And whatever you do, don't go searching for it. The video begins with a suspected cartel member with his face completely flayed and skinned, and he is still alive. Now, you don't see this happening, but you do see the aftermath. All of the skin on his face has been completely removed. Nothing that resembles facial features are there anymore. No skin, no lips, no eyelids, absolutely nothing. This video almost doesn't look real, but it has been confirmed to be 100% real. It almost looks like and feels like an 80s slasher film. Throughout the video, it's just his captors mocking him and having a good time enjoying the pain they inflicted on him. They ask him questions throughout the video like, "Do you want water?" which the victim replies, "Yo quiero agua," which means "I want water." The captors continue to just mock and mess with the victim throughout the whole video. It also looks like they skinned some of his chest off too, which I can't even imagine the pain. Now, the video is gory and hard to watch, but that's not really what makes this video disturbing. The video is just honestly extremely creepy. For example, how the guy looks after his face was skinned. The best way I could describe it is that his face was stuck in a constant grin, but he has no face. It's almost like they cut off his face in a way to make him smile permanently. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's an extremely messed up visual. Also, the way the victim sounds while he's talking to his captors is also extremely disturbing. His voice is just so raspy and it almost sounds demonic and not human at all. Now, we all know the video Funky Town, and people who saw Funky Town compare this video to it all the time. Now, it's not Funky Town disturbing, but it is extremely disturbing. All in all, it isn't a pleasant video to look at or watch, and I urge you to never ever go searching for it.
I don't. His descriptions are freaking vivid enough in my mind. I don't need to see that. It looks like an edit. That's an edit. We see him, bro. We see through the fake.
Girls went hiking in Panama, disappeared, and left behind their camera with disturbing photos. Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon were students from the Netherlands, and they spent about 6 months planning a trip to Panama that was supposed to serve as part vacation and part service trip. They planned on spending some time hiking, touring, volunteering with local children, teaching arts and crafts, and learning Spanish. Lisanne and Chris have been hiking around the Panamanian jungle for the last 2 weeks as part of a backpacking mission trip. They intended to stay for the next 4 weeks with a host family to volunteer at a local school. However, when they waved goodbye to their host family at 11 a.m. on April 1st, they were never seen again. The girls had wrote on a Facebook post that they were going to tour a local village and they were having brunch with 2 Dutchmen before embarking on their hiking journey. On the night of April 1st, the host family noticed that there was something wrong. Their dog had returned safe and sound, but the girls were nowhere to be found. The host family looked around the area of their home, but decided to wait until the morning to alert authorities. The next morning, Lisanne and Chris missed an appointment with a local tour guide, and this prompted the host family to alert the authorities. By April 6th, the girls were still missing, and their families ended up flying to Panama, bringing detectives with them from the Netherlands. Along with local police and dog units, they searched the forest for 10 days. Days turned into weeks, and after 10 weeks, there was still no sign of Lisanne or Chris. As police were slowing their search efforts, a woman turned in a blue backpack to authorities, claiming to have found it near the banks of the river. Inside of the backpack, they found 2 sunglasses, 2 bras, a water bottle, $83, and Lisanne's passport. Also inside, most importantly, they found Lisanne's camera and both of their cell phones. Police immediately began investigating the camera and cell phones and came up with some disturbing evidence. The phones had remained in service about 10 days after the girls had gone missing. As they were looking at the phones, there was about 77 separate times they tried to call the police.
Damn.
And with these call logs, they were able to come up with a time frame of how long these girls were in the forest. It seemed like all of these calls were not going through since they were in the forest, but only one of them went through, but after 2 seconds, it disconnected. As police were looking at the camera, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The first photo was of Lisanne and Chris as they were starting their hike for the day. But as the photos progressed, it became more worrisome. There was a photo taken on April 8th between 1 to 4 a.m., and it was showing the girls' belongings spread out on a rock. There was plastic bags, candy wrappers, and most importantly, there was a photo of the back of Chris's head, and there was blood leaking from her temple. Police were investigating where the backpack was found, and they discovered Chris's clothes neatly folded near the edge of the river. About 2 months later, in that same area, a pelvic bone and a foot were found in a booth. And soon after that, the bones of the 2 girls were discovered. As investigators were looking at the bones, they were looking at Lisanne's bone, and it looked like they had decomposed naturally. There was still some flesh attached to them. But for Chris's bones, they looked stark white, as if they had been bleached. Police questioned the locals, tour guides, and hikers in that area, but no one seemed to know what had happened to those girls, and there was not enough evidence to determine the cause of death. To this day, the disappearance and deaths of Lisanne and Chris remain a mystery.
Facts that will ruin your life, a different version of you, exist in the minds of everyone who knows you. Nighttime is the natural state of the universe. Daytime is only caused by a nearby radiating ball of flame. The word mortgage comes from a French term that means death pledge, or a contract that only expires upon death. Over 50% of commercial pilots have all admitted to falling asleep while flying a plane. The sun may have exploded, and we wouldn't know it for at least 8 minutes. Hit the plus sign if these disturbed you.
The fact about the mortgage is basically saying it's come from a death term.
Here are some things that are completely normal during the day but really creepy at night. Digging holes in your backyard. I mean, it's your backyard and you're entitled to do whatever you want to it, but if I see you digging some holes in the middle of the night, I'm gonna be really concerned. Bonus creepy points if you have some trash bags next to you too. I feel bad for people who work graveyard shifts or are night owls because it makes it difficult to do any gardening or landscaping without looking pretty creepy. They say a child's laughter is one of the most beautiful sounds in the world, but not if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Scary movies have absolutely ruined the sound of a child laughing for me because most instances, I'm gonna assume the worst. And for some reason, little girls laughing are even more scary. Like imagine being in the woods camping and you hear some little girl laughing in the distance. My brain isn't gonna think, oh cool, some family must be camping near us. No, I'm gonna think that I'm gonna get murdered or possessed by some demon. Someone knocking on your door during the day, it's annoying. Who the fuck is showing showing up at my house unannounced? It must be a salesman or, worse, Mormons. That same knock at 3 in the morning? No, I'm getting murdered for sure. I'm on the 2nd floor, and my only way out is to jump out the window, so I'm done for.
People you never knew existed. This is Josephine Myrtle, and she was born with 4 legs and 2 sets of genitals. Despite having these conditions, she got married and had 5 kids. These are the only 2 men in the world who can speak the Ayapaneco language in Mexico. But they don't talk to each other because they have beef. Doctors were left stunned when this man came into the hospital complaining about chest pain. After a couple of scans, they realized he had 2 hearts. Jill Price has perfect memory of her life, and if you asked her what she ate for breakfast 20 years ago, she would get it right.
I think the thing that got me the most was when the woman who had like 5 sets of freaking legs and genitals. Man, it's freaking mind blowing out here, bro. These people, man, you think wouldn't exist. It's like they're coming out of a freaking video game or something like that. Extraordinary people in this world. You gotta expand your mind.
What could be more terrifying than the thought of your own body setting itself on fire? For hundreds of years, this phenomenon has been the subject of scientific scrutiny as well as deep mystery. Spontaneous human combustion. This is when the human body appears to ignite internally, a fire starting from within before the entire body becomes engulfed. This actually dates all the way back to the 1600s, and since then there have only ever been about 200 cases reported worldwide. In 1984, a scientific team was assembled led by Joe Nickell to investigate a number of these cases dating back to the 1800s. One of the unusual threads that was found between all of these cases was that with every body investigated, there seemed to be some trace of alcohol in the system. This gave way to the Wick theory, suggesting that if alcohol was in the system and there was some kind of a chemical change that could ignite a fire, body fat could be used as an accelerant, making the mystery of this phenomenon one you should think about next time you're drinking.
That's why I don't even drink. Another reason to stay away.
The Uvalde school shooter was arrested last year after making death threats herself. And this seems to be an alarming pattern of behavior in this family. So if you don't remember, in 2022, this man went into the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, and opened fire, killing 21 people altogether, 19 young children and 2 teachers. This was one of the most horrific events to ever really happen here in the United States and sent shockwaves around the world. And those 21 students and teachers that lost their lives that day will never be forgotten. But in January of 2023, Salvador Ramos, the shooter's mother, Adriana Reyes, spent 2 nights in jail for threatening to murder her disabled partner that she lived with. Apparently, the man that she was dating stated that he felt terrified and felt like she could kill him at any second, and that's why he called the police to report her. Now, initially she tried to claim that this never happened, but somebody who was a witness to these threats, who actually heard her screaming these death threats, corroborated the story with the police, and she was arrested. And if you'll remember, Salvador Ramos' cousin actually threatened to do the same thing as his cousin, aka he threatened to commit another shooting last year as well. And needless to say, I think that there's just something wrong here. This week on our podcast, my wife Courtney and I are starting our series about the Uvalde school shooting. Our podcast is called Murder in America, and we're going through everything that led up to this, the police failures, the massacre itself, and obviously everything that happened afterwards.
Sound like something wrong with that family. It's just like, it's through the whole line. It's like I passed down through the genes.
Is this a coincidence? Tree stump. Fingerprints.
Similar.
Tree branch. Human lungs. Leaf veins. Human veins.
Some chilling similarities.
Tree of life. Human placenta. Grass. Human hair. Tree roots. Human veins. River network. Human veins.
Let me find out.
You were today years old.
Don't tell me we're just basically more evolved version of a tree, man. The tree branches and the lugs, man. They look similar. That's the grass and the human hair. It was eerie similar, bro. One time we were just basically a more evolved version of a tree.
Old when you found these out. If you want to heat up some food at night, microwaves have a silent mode. To activate the silent mode, all you have to do is hold down the 1 button. So you're driving a car and you need gas, but you don't know which side the tank is on. If you look on the dashboard, there's an arrow next to the gas tank indicating which side the gas tank is on. Surprisingly, the drawer under the oven isn't used to hold pots and pans. It's made to keep your food warm until you're ready to eat.
Wow.
Airplane windows actually have little holes in them to prevent the windows from fogging. These candies are called lifesavers because if a child accidentally chokes someone, they will still be able to breathe because of the hole in the middle.
Now I know where the name come from. What was the wonder? That was a weird name for a candy. Lifesavers. Is this an added seekers? Trees walking. Now, come on now.
Don't freak out, but this bug lives on your face. Demotic mites dig face first inside your pores. But don't freak out, they're harmless. They just eat your grease and dead skin on your face. But there is one thing you should be worried about. Don't cry, but they do wake up in the middle of the night to mate on your face. Yeah, now you know. But they're harmless. And they live on all of you. Live with it. Like if you want a part 2 of things you don't know that live on your body.
That my face right now? What the hell, bro?
This is what we know about the awful case of 16-year-old Shelby Vinnie. Shelby was a cheerleader at Bixby High School, and on Thursday night, her family was on their way home with her dad behind the wheel. He had reportedly been drinking, and according to her mom, they were also having a heated argument up in the front seat. At 70 miles per hour, he tried to pass another vehicle in a no-passing zone, and their SUV flipped. As we know, Shelby was tragically ejected from her family's vehicle on impact. A bystander immediately ran over to the scene, but there aren't even words for what happened next. Shelby's father was reportedly standing disoriented just outside of the crashed car, and when asked if anyone was hurt, he ran away. He left his 16-year-old daughter there to die on the pavement. Now, according to police, they were able to determine that Elliot had fled to a local family-owned business, and it was there that he got access to another car. They were able to electronically track that vehicle, and within 12 hours, they found him behind the wheel in a town about an hour away. It was obviously too late to give him a DUI test, but he was taken into custody. With Elliot's arrest, we know that while he tried to tell police he skidded on an oil spot, he's also admitted to taking a few swigs of the vodka bottle that was found in the front seat. Today, Elliot is charged with first-degree manslaughter, but he has already posted his $100,000 bail. And as for Shelby's mom and her siblings, again, unfortunately, we don't know how they're doing now. Shelby is described as a bright light with a heart of gold and the best teammate you could ask for. If you would like to support her family during this time, the link will be in my bio.
People need to stop driving, man, when they're intoxicated. It's very simple.
Yeah, the hyena's a girl. So many may know, female hyenas have a fake meat hose that looks almost identical to the real thing. And for those that don't, actually, that's the lead. They have a pseudo-phallus that they give birth from, and yes, it's as traumatizing as you think, and yes, the very process of birth can end up doing the exact opposite for everyone involved. But low-key, having a built-in flesh strap might explain why hyenas are exactly the way they are. So for most animals, life pretty much comes down to the 3 F's: food, fights, and... So a lot of times, when male animals run a fade, it's for the goal of female validation. But hyenas having a female 5th leg means they have a natural crotch block. It's basically anti-mating hardware that means the no-pants dance can only happen if she allows it. So unlike things like lions or bears, there's really no reason for male hyenas to want smoke with each other when getting it in is already RNG. Pun intended. And it's believed having coitus completely out of their control is why male hyenas are way less aggressive and even have less testosterone than the females. Meanwhile, the females are more on-go than a green light. And why hyena sisters are way more likely to put each other on a t-shirt. And with them being pack animals with a whole social ladder, the Walking Comedy Club had to become more aggressive just to give their cubs a chance at life. Matter of fact, that's probably why they have more testosterone. So yeah, moral of this video. Lion King did hyenas every type of dirty, but they got it right when they had Shenty giving orders. And now you know why.
Horses are much bigger
just
than
registered.
People, so naturally they just have a lot more blood than we do. So whenever horses get nosebleeds, it ends up looking like a whole crime scene. So one of the only reasons we know how many people died in the Titanic are the shoes that are laying on the ocean floor. Some are pretty cool, others are kind of depressing. And the reason we count the shoes instead of, bones is because when the Titanic hit the floor, all the corpses kind of just scattered and the fish ate the corpses, but the fish couldn't eat the shoes. If you ever decide to go climb Mount Everest, I hope that you remember that the crevices in the ice are V-shaped. Which means if you were to ever accidentally fall down one, you more than likely wouldn't die instantly. Your body heat would melt the ice around you, causing you to slip further and further down until your chest couldn't expand enough to breathe. So make sure you bring a friend just as crazy as you to help get you out.
Mount Everest, one of the most deadliest places ever. I don't think I'm gonna go there, man. You might have to pay me. I had too many stories about that mountain.
Ellen Greenberg, pictured behind me, had over 20 stab wounds, but they classified it as suicide. Let's talk about why that is not the case.
How?
On January 26, 2011, there was a blizzard happening in Philadelphia. She worked there and wanted to go home, so she left her workplace. At 6:40 p.m. that same day, she was stabbed 20 times. 10 of those times were in the back of her neck and in her back. She also had 11 bruises on her right arm, her legs, and her abdomen. Now, despite these findings, that the wounds were on her back and she had bruises all over her, the Philadelphia police classified this as a suicide. Now, the Philadelphia police and the homicide investigators said this was a suspicious case, and then they closed it and ruled it a suicide. So, in my opinion, I think a cover-up is going on here. Maybe someone powerful decided to pull a hit on her, or maybe one of the investigators or the Philadelphia police themselves were in on this. There's just no way this is a suicide. 20 stab wounds with 10 to the back of your neck and back, there's no possible way. And the bruising, like, come on, obviously there was a struggle, obviously there was some blunt force trauma. Ellen Greenberg's case needs to be reopened and reevaluated. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comment section below, and as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
The murder
needs to be
of
reopened.
Chick-fil-A Marie
Simple.
has to be my favorite case of all time. Like, I actually get butterflies in my stomach every time I revisit this case. I'm just so fascinated by the killer. He was so dedicated. He was gorgeous. Super, super dreamy. Like, if he wasn't behind bars, I would probably be with him. And just how dedicated he was to chopping her into bits and pieces. I mean, he really had no remorse, and we almost have to appreciate that. Like, the fact that he carried this chainsaw around for miles and miles, and after chopping her up, it just wasn't enough that he decided to also set on fire. I'm like, there's something hot about that. Siri, play "This Girl is on Fire." We can make jokes now, guys. It's been a long time. The best part about this is that this killer had no remorse. During the court hearing, he actually sat and looked her family members dead in the eyes. Dead, get it, guys? And he actually just laughed the entire time. And you know what? I can appreciate a man who doubles down. Also, disclaimer before people get their panties in a twist, I am being super, super respectful of the family. I'm only sharing things that I've seen already on the internet, so I'm not making things up. These are just facts, and I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Here are some facts that you...
Nah, some of those we can choke. You can't break the case down like that, man. Like, it's too much. She's just a little bit too happy me explaining what was going on, man. But she said from a POV, so obviously she was just doing, I guess, what some other people be doing when they breaking down cases, but that ain't the way to do it.
You were never taught that could legitimately save your life one day. So listen the fuck up. If there is a random smell of fish in your house when you haven't had fish, obviously, how do I put this? Get the fuck out! Because this is most likely a sign of an electrical fire. If someone you know is having a heart attack and you need to give them aspirin, make sure they chew it before they swallow it because it makes it work faster. If you are outside or high up or whatever, and you not only hear a crunching, crickling noise in the sky, also your hair starts to randomly stand up like it's static, you need to run, because you, my friend, are about to get struck by lightning. If you are in the pool and the pool water starts tasting metallic, first piece of advice, stop drinking pool water! Get the fuck out, because there's most likely an electrical short somewhere in the water. Finally, bats are the best place to hide during a tornado. So grab your rubber ducky and wait it out. Let's make a deal. If you didn't know any of these, you have to share it, and all with me now.
This is the
scary
truth about Mars. So, everybody knows humans are trying to get people to live on Mars. Especially Elon Musk. But none of these people ever tell you the scary truth about the red planet Mars. Mars is actually famous for its dust storms, and they have the largest sandstorms in the entire solar system. These storms can last for months, and these storms just don't stick to one area. These storms actually engulf the entire planet of Mars, and the winds can reach up to 60 miles per hour. These sandstorms can also block the sun, which would just start a domino effect of problems. So, if us humans actually make it to Mars, One of these storms can just kill us all and just ruin all the years of hard work to get there.
So why they want us to go to Mars then? If they know this information. I'm starting to think it's a setup. Those people going to Mars might be a trap, man. The more you know, Seekers. You gotta stay on Earth, man. I never even knew that until I watched these clips with you guys, bro. That's why I was always expanding my mind.
This is the dirtiest man in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Mal Haji is in his 80s and he hasn't bathed for over 60 years. He leads a nomadic lifestyle in Iran, and his favorite food is rotten porcupine, and he smokes animal feces out of a pipe. He believes that cleanliness will bring him sickness, and he says the thought of taking a bath after all this time makes him angry.
Don't go 60 years without
Now I know we all
freaking
love
taking
the
a
thought of
shower.
little old E.T. coming to visit Earth, making his entrance like, hello. But maybe that isn't such a good idea for, you know, fucking humanity. Actually, a lot of scientists hope that the universe is completely empty. We're so lonely. The theoretical Great Filter is fucking terrifying. The scientists have calculated that there should be at least 20 civilizations in our galaxy alone. So, E.T., where the fuck are you? Come home to Tatty. Or a more terrifying question, what happened to them? That is what scientists are asking. The Great Filter. The belief that somewhere along life's trajectory, life suddenly goes, you know what, nah, fuck you all. Completely wiping it out before it becomes too intelligent. An inevitable, unavoidable phenomenon. It's different to every civilization. It could be disease. We have enough fucking that. Nuclear power, AI, no wait, no, too soon. Or one of these fucking things. Now there's two options. One, we're already ahead of the Great Filter. We survived or did the undoable, making us very rare. Or we're behind it, still yet to face our challenge that we most likely won't survive. And we won't see it coming. Elon!
You guys think we made it past the Great Filter yet? I don't know. What the hell were those things walking? Can't even explain that.
Kids have ever said. A man's mother passed away in a car accident when he was 6 years old. When his 2-year-old daughter saw a picture of her grandmother for the first time, she laughed. He asked her, "What's so funny?" She looked at him and said, "That's my special friend who sings to me." A man's 3-year-old daughter stood next to her newborn brother and looked at him for a while. She turned back to her dad and said, "Daddy, it's a monster. We should bury it." A woman and her 4-year-old son were out in public when all of a sudden he starts rubbing on her belly and talking to it. She asked what he was doing, and he said, "I'm talking to the baby." She informed him politely that she was not pregnant, and then he said, "There is a baby in your belly. I just saw it crawl across the floor and climb up into you." A woman's 5-year-old asked when he was going to be 23 years old. She told him in 18 years. He replied, "Well, I hope I don't die again, because that's how old I was the last time I went to heaven." Follow for more of the...
That last one. It's chilling. Like he caught a glimpse of his past life where he knew. Heard about, we saw clips before about kids talking about past lives and it was true, so.
This is real footage that was accidentally captured by a group of scientists that were looking for an old library. They found an ancient cult that had been around for thousands of years, using teeth as their form of currency. This elusive cult has rarely ever been captured on camera. You see, this cult wears masks to hide their identity, as well as hooded cloaks that are either red or black, and worship a god called Winfred Stitch. And that's why this cult is called the Stitch Veneration. They can often be found at music concerts, and only one musician called Covey is known to be a Stitcher, with the Stitch symbol tattooed on his hand, and fans wear masks to all of the shows.
It's right in front of our eyes. We ain't even paying attention.
I want to go ahead and I want to discuss this Instagram story and what makes this diabolically creepy. So I'm not going to give the name, I blocked everything out because clearly they want to remain anonymous. Context is that somebody clearly broke into their old school. I don't know if it was their middle school, high school, whatever it was. And they posted this to their story, but pretty soon after people started commenting about what they see in the background. You zoom in just a little bit, you would see that this person was not alone. in that classroom. But before we take a deeper look at that photo, a huge thank you to Spyfly for bringing you this story. If you want to look up something about somebody, you go to Spyfly. How to become this one-stop shop where you can do background reports, you can look at arrest records, you can even do reverse phone lookup. Spyfly.com is going to be the place to do it. You can check the link in my bio for more details. So back to this photo. I don't know if you can see this, but there is definitely somebody crouching in the background of this classroom. And if you still doubt me, I zoomed in and enhanced the picture for you.
Damn.
This is John List.
I saw it.
In 1971, he murdered his entire immediate family before escaping and starting a completely new life that he lived for more than 17 years before he was eventually caught. This is a wild story. I covered it on the latest episode of my podcast, but here's an overview. In 1951, John List married Helen Taylor, and together they had 3 children, Patricia, John Frederick, and Frederick. List had served in the Army and was an accountant with a successful career working as a comptroller for a bank in Jersey City, New Jersey. The family lived in a 19-room mansion in Westfield, New Jersey called Breeze Knoll. And the 5 of them, along with John's mother Alma, who was also living with them, were swimming in space there. The family seemed to have a happy life here. It seemed like John was successful, and they weren't super social, but everything seemed fine. The kids were popular and hardworking, and nobody knew anything bad about the family. Behind closed doors, things were not as they seemed. Helen was an alcoholic and was extremely ill from contracting syphilis from her first husband. And John List had lost his job at the bank. But instead of telling his family, he basically went to work every day pretending that he was going to his job and coming home after work hours. And he started skimming money off of his mother's bank account to help pay the mortgage. But then on November 9th, 1971, John List would do the unthinkable. That morning, he dropped the kids off at school and returned home. When he got home, he took out one of his guns, approached his wife of almost 20 years, and shot her in the back of the head. He then went up to the attic apartment where his 84-year-old mother lived and shot her as well. When 16-year-old Patricia and 13-year-old Frederick arrived home from school, List attacked them from behind, shooting them each in the back of the head. List then made himself some lunch. He went into the bank and closed both him and his mother's accounts, and then he went to Westfield High School where he watched his middle son, John Frederick, play a soccer game. After the game, he drove 15-year-old John Frederick home. And when they got home, he attacked. John Frederick tried to fight back, but unfortunately he ended up succumbing to multiple gunshot wounds. List then placed the bodies of Helen, Patricia, John Frederick, and Frederick on top of sleeping bags in the mansion's ballroom. He left Alma up in the attic apartment because she was too heavy to drag down. He then wrote a letter to his pastor confessing what he had done, and he wrote letters to the kids' schools saying that they would be gone visiting a sick relative for a few weeks so nobody would suspect them missing. Then he walked around the house and removed every single photo of himself from all of the photo albums. Finally, he started piping religious music throughout the home, and then he left. By the time the bodies were discovered a month later, John List was long gone. And while he was the immediate main suspect in the murders, police didn't have a lot to go on, and they were unable to circulate a recent photo of him because he had removed every single photo of himself from inside the house. The family's car was found at JFK Airport, but John List went undetected for almost 18 years. Go to part 2.
Facts that you wish you never knew.
Okay.
Part 21. This photo shows an 8-month-old Xiao Bao who was lucky to be alive because his mother stabbed him 90 times after he bit her while she was breastfeeding him. The world's scariest haunted house, McCamey Manor, requires you to sign a 40-page waiver and undergo a physical and mental evaluation. If you manage to make it through the house, you could win $20,000.
Free money?
But to this day, no one has ever made it through. The little girl who voiced Ducky in The Land Before Time was shot to death by her father, who then committed suicide. Roman Emperor Nero had a boy castrated, dressed him up as a bride, and married him, all because the boy looked similar to his previous dead wife. A 46-year-old man found and attacked a 13-year-old boy because the kid was killing him too many times in a game of Call of Duty.
What the hell in COD?
This
Come
is
on,
what
be
your
better.
poems actually mean. Put your hands together and analyze which line pattern you have. Number
Okay.
1, if your left-hand line is lower, this means you're independent and don't care what other people think of you. You keep your opinion to yourself, which is why you'll become wise one day. Number 2, if your left-hand line is higher, it means you're a super adventurous person. You're extremely confident and don't need to rush into relationships. And you can become anything because you're super independent.
Really?
Number 3, if your lines are the same, this means you're strong-minded and charming. You're gentle, sensitive, and care what other people think.
Okay, Seekers, what line do you have? I'm number 3. Mine's matched, so they got some of those qualities she has. But tell me down below, man. You guys 1, 2, or 3 when it comes to the palm lines, bro. I'm definitely in the middle. So interesting facts we learned today. Tap in with us. What? In oil? People have to be better, man. Plain and simple.
3 facts that could save your life, part 4. If you ever disturb a wasp's nest, don't run for the water. The wasps are so smart they'll wait for you to resurface and then continue to sting you. If you're ever buried in an avalanche, you must spit. Your saliva will follow the gravity and you can dig the opposite way, making it easier to get out. Do you ever struggle in school, especially in math? All you have to do is take a picture of your math problem, and GothMath shows you exactly step by step on how it got the answer and the answer itself. Just in case your teacher is extremely annoying with asking you to show your work. The link is in my bio and it's completely free.
Y'all need to hit that up, man. If I ever have some problems with math, that got me through a couple of rough times and some rough spots in math, I highly recommend it, man. See my ass been on one or more occasion, bro, especially when it came to math. We all been there. Edit. We've been doing this for a minute, so we can definitely just call them out now when we see it.
How rare is your body? Only 5% of people have blonde hair, and the most common hair in the world is black. And only 7% of the world is capable of tickling themselves. And 25% of people automatically sneeze when they look up at the sun. And only 1% of people have vitiligo. This is a skin condition which allows areas to lose pigment, which causes them to become different colors. And 20% of people have one pupil bigger than the other. And 91.6% of people have a clockwise hair whorl.
This boy claimed he remembered his past life until his parents discovered he wasn't lying. A Syrian boy named Arius was born with a particular red birthmark on his face. As soon as he could speak, he explained to his parents that he had already lived another life as a different man, claiming he was actually murdered with an axe by his own neighbor. Turns out, a man had actually gone missing in their village years earlier, and the neighbor was the prime suspect. So Arius and his parents went to the neighbor's house to find out the truth. When the neighbor opened the door, he turned white as a ghost, claiming he was innocent. But Arius demanded the neighbor come with him, because he knew where his body was actually buried. Arius led them miles from the village to a specific spot under a tree, and they began digging. They found a skull that was cracked exactly where Arius' birthmark was. Everyone was shocked, and the neighbor was later arrested.
That's a plain case of reincarnation. That's what it sounds like to me, man. That's my first time, I guess, seeing like full hardcore evidence of it. He knew exactly where it was at. He remembered. That's like all the freaking yeah. Sounds like reincarnation. What comes around, it's gonna come back to you, man. You think you get away with something? The energy's gonna come back and get you. You learning today, Seekers.
The rarest human mutations that actually exist. About 25% of people have photic sneeze reflex, which means they can sneeze just by looking up at the sun. And about 3% of the population have no odor at all. Now, 80% of people have lines that form an M on their palm, and many people believe this is a sign of good fortune. However, 4% of people have an X on their palm, which means they'll become great leaders.
Most unusual places in the world. Located in Quebec, Canada, this forest has a pretty creepy atmosphere. It might be because the ground looks like it's moving, making it seem like Mother Earth is taking a deep breath. This next one is actually terrifying. Located in Penang, Malaysia, this huge water tornado was getting extremely close to this apartment building. Fortunately, it stopped right in front of the building because it ran out of water. And how about this one? It used to be a hiking area before it got flooded, so everything you see here used to be above water. Imagine being a fish and seeing this appear out of nowhere.
That's like my first time seeing a water tornado. It was like that close to the building. That's actually scary. And it stopped because there was no more water so it can form. People have to be careful, man, these areas we're living in. Where's the sky? We know that's an edit. If y'all see some edits, man, call them out down below.
That almost no human can do. Number 1, this requires very flexible fingers, and only 3% of people can do it.
I can do it.
This is known as the paralyzed finger trick, and only 1% of people can do it. First, place your hand on the table and then bend your middle finger like that. Now try lifting your ring finger off the table. Number 3, this is where you raise one eyebrow like this guy, and only 5% of people can do it. Number 4, this is where you make a V shape with your hand like like this, and only 3% of people can do it. Now comment which one you can do.
1 in 3. I can't do the eyebrow like The Rock. That's his signature,
Creepy
right?
fact you didn't know about. This sound is just a cat meowing. Sadly, the cat died after the video of it meowing was recorded.
Ooh.
The owner slowed it down and made this an audio. If you don't believe me, speed it up.
We've heard that audio a couple of times. Now we know that's a cat meowing. It's
Be
creepy.
careful what you put in your body. In 2014, a couple returned to their home to find it trashed in baffling ways. There was lotion all over the door handles, all of their shoes had had their soles ripped off of them, and someone had dumped an entire can of paint all over the toilet.
Really?
Despite the obvious break-in, the police come and can't find any evidence of theft, so they leave thinking the couple's not in danger anymore. That night, the couple hears scratching underneath their bed and what sounds like a crying animal. Not wanting to find out what it was, they leave and call the cops, who come right back and start investigating the house.
Smart.
And they make a startling discovery in their bedroom. Wedged underneath the couple's bed was this 90-pound tiny little woman carrying a huge butcher's knife and a hypodermic needle. As they're taking this crazy lady away in handcuffs, one of the officers comes over to the couple and is like, so she was high on meth, and for at least 2 hours, she had been burrowing a hole in the underside of your mattress with that knife to get to you.
Disturbing body facts that will ruin your day. When you get a kidney transplant, they actually leave your original kidney in your body, and they place your third kidney in your pelvis.
Whoa.
And if you wake up because of a loud bang sound, you might actually have exploding head syndrome. It's not painful, but the sensation can be super terrifying. And according to brain surgeons, the brain is not solid at all. It's usually compared to the texture of melted butter. And during your lifetime, you will produce enough saliva to fill up 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
Damn, what
Things
the
almost
hell?
no humans can do, but I'm not sure, and if you can, then you're bloody weird. This is where you raise one eyebrow like The Rock. Only 5% of humans can actually do this.
Can't, not
Run
me.
this video if you can do it.
I can't.
This might be the most brutal way somebody has ever died, and whatever you do, don't look up the picture.
I won't.
Octavio Silva was a 20-year-old soccer referee in Brazil, and on June 30th, 2013, he was refereeing a soccer game when he sent off a player named Josmir Santos Abreu, who was 31 years old. He refused to leave the field and began a fight with the referee. Abreu threw a punch which made Octavio draw a knife from his pocket and repeatedly stab Abreu. Abreu died on the way to the hospital, and when fans watching the game, including Abreu's family and friends, found out about his death, they invaded the field and stoned Octavio before decapitating him, and then ripping his limbs from his body with just their strength and no weapons, and then put his head on a stick in the middle of the field. And what makes this worse is that a graphic video surfaced online shortly after the incident, showing medical personnel reassembling Octavio's body. The video and pictures are extremely disturbing, and I don't recommend looking them up. The way his limbs looked after being ripped off is extremely unsettling to look at, because you see strings of flesh, tissue, and bone because it wasn't cut off properly and it was just ripped off. This case is absolutely awful, but why did Octavio pull out a knife when somebody just punched him? If he didn't stab Josmir Abreu to death, he would still be alive today. But just imagine being literally ripped limb from limb by an angry group of soccer fans, and there's nothing you can do as they pull your body apart.
One of you is going to end
It's
up
a
dead.
crazy
This
case.
is a chilling statement that friends of this couple made prior to a horrifying turn of events. On the 25th of March 2022, 24-year-old OnlyFans model Abigail White killed her boyfriend. She stabbed Bradley Lewis through the heart with a kitchen knife when he told her he wanted to finish the relationship. When police arrived at the scene, she actually tried to tell them that he'd done this to himself, but she quickly confessed. She said that she'd never meant to hurt him. Abigail was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 18 years in prison. Shockingly, despite being in prison, she has been able to find a new boyfriend on the outside.
And the people on the outside in, man, they called it. They said that relationship was going to end bad. Like, sometimes, man, we got to heed people's advice because they can see things that we just can't see. We think they're overreacting, but she hit the nail on the head. And look what happened. Another crazy case.
I thought that I had seen everything when it came to cults, but you are not prepared for what this cult believes. So HBO just released this documentary about the Love is One cult, which was run by this woman, Amy Carlson, who calls herself Mother God. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but she believed she was controlled by the spirit of Robin Williams, and this like yassified version of Saint Germain. Also, I cover a lot of dark stuff on this page, so you should follow along. She also said she could channel and get advice from this like galactic federation of dead celebrities. There's like Mr. Rogers, Carrie Fisher, Steve Irwin, and randomly Donald Trump, who is not dead. But Robin Williams is at the top, and so the cult believes they're getting a lot of advice through Robin Williams, so they'll say things like, so one of the beliefs that this cult has is that one day Robin Williams is going to arrive in a spaceship to take Mother God away so that she can spiritually ascend. He also told her that she can only be 103 pounds to get on the spaceship, which is why she's trying to lose a lot of weight. Eventually, Mother God starts getting sicker and sicker, and also bluer and bluer because of the colloidal silver supplements they won't stop giving her, and everyone thinks, oh my god, Robin Williams must be coming on a spaceship really soon to help Mother ascend. Eventually, she passes away, and guess what? Shockingly, Robin Williams does not descend in an intergalactic spaceship to come collect the 103-pound body of Mother God.
You don't say.
So the cult members just have her body. They don't know what to do with it. They thought Robin Williams was going to come. So they hang out with it for 12 days until the police finally show up. Anyways, this whole thing is a trip. You just gotta watch it to believe it.
So they was hanging out with that body for 12 days. Man, when people, when they deep into that, when they deep into their groups and their cult things, man, they believe anything and everything. That's just a prime example. Man, I wonder how many other crazy things out there that people believe. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. Call out the edits, man, when y'all see him.
Imagine being an animal so vile and wild. Not only did you traumatize a researcher, everything he learned about you had to be hidden from the public for almost 100 years. That's what happened to George Murray Levick. He was on an expedition in 1911 when he ran into a group of Adelie penguins. It was the largest colony on Earth, and since nobody had ever spent a whole breeding cycle there, George decided to be first. Oh, he f***ed around, and he spent 3 months finding out. What he found out was Adelie penguins are 50 shades of foul play. No pun intended, maybe. He watched a male penguins attempt to mate with literally anything, including other males, injured females, and even unsupervised penguin chicks.
What?
Now, but what really messed him up was watching a male score with a past tense, past expiration date female. Apparently, penguins aren't above self-service because he also witnessed one male get it on with an extra curvy piece of snowdrift. To completion, he was so appalled he referred to them as hooligan cocks. And remember, this was 1911, that had to be some kind of slur. George quickly realized that if male penguins understand consent, they could not care less about it, because he reportedly watched one female that was too injured to walk try to crawl away, only for 2 hooligans to catch up to her and demoralize both her and George. I don't even know why he did this, because like, what more do you have to prove? But at one point he did an experiment where he took the frozen decapitated head of a penguin and put it on a pile of snow just to see how low the flightless felons could go. The answer was low enough. George put every messed up thing he learned in a manuscript, and the British Museum of Natural History decided history was exactly what his studies would be when they vaulted it, until it was rediscovered almost 100 years later in 2012. All that trauma, and he didn't even live to see it get published. But the worst part, these are Adelie penguins. Yep, it all adds up in the end.
He's the world.
The thing that got to me is, man, he did all this research, he wrote it down, I guess, to try to tell everybody, but they just decided to vault it, and they now got released. Like, when they decided we should learn those things, that makes you question, man, what else they vaulted that they deemed that we're not ready to learn yet. A lot of information out there. Just something to think about.
Smallest prisoner, you'll never guess the terrible things he's done. Part 2. Caroline saw a 5-year-old son stood in front of the oven, his face full of shock and confusion. He tried to explain, but his words were slurred, and he could only give bits and pieces. Caroline and her husband immediately realized that their son had inadvertently shut his sister in the oven, and that he had turned on the oven's heat. Caroline rushed to the oven and quickly opened the door. The heat from the oven hit her, and she saw the tiny figure. Her skin blackened by the heat already dying, she hurriedly grabbed out her daughter and rushed to the car with her husband, driving as fast as she could to the hospital along the way.
Damn.
Caroline and her husband's hearts hung in their throats. They kept praying that their daughter would pull through. However, their world completely collapsed when the doctors told them that the child could not be saved Due to the severity of her injuries, the incident left the Ashley family in deep grief.
Worst ways people have died, part 1. In 2016, a mother pushed her son on a swing for 2 days straight, non-stop, until he passed away.
What?
It turns out that sadly, she was mentally ill and was then sent to a mental institution. In 2018, a man named Keno Butler and his wife, Wendy Thompson, were drinking when they started having an argument. Wendy then attacked him with a knife and got him in the hand with it. But she didn't stop there. She then decided to jump on top of him, smothering him with over 300 pounds of body fat and sadly suffocating him. Before I tell you the last one, your boyfriend or girlfriend falls off a cliff with $20 billion. You can only save one. Who are you saving?
Girlfriend, man, easy choice.
Let me know down below. In 2021, Karina Smith had discovered that her own husband had been being very inappropriate with their children when they were younger. You won't believe this. She then filled a pot with boiling hot sugar water and dumped it on him while he was sleeping. He didn't survive that painful revenge.
Most Scary Urban Legends, Part 6. This is Krasu. She's a Thailand legend. She's a female spirit who wanders the fields at night. At first you would just see her face, until you look down and she has no body, and just her internal organs. Her guts are usually covered with fresh red blood. Her face appears to look somewhat like a vampire's. She has very sharp teeth, and sometimes has a blue halo around her head. She is always hungry for meat, whether that be animal meat or human meat. Before she goes hunting, she hides her headless body somewhere safe, and she needs to come back to it before sunrise. And then she becomes a normal person again for the day with no differences from anybody else. One of her origins was that she was a princess who was forced to marry a high-ranked Seminese member who killed her people in battle. But she loved somebody else and was caught with them by the Seminese member. She was then sentenced to be burned alive. She then asked the witch for help, who summoned a spell on her immune to fire, but the spell worked too late, and everything was burned besides her internal organs and head.
What do you guys think? The guys believe those urban legends, man?
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night.
Here
When
we go.
Apollo 11 landed, it only had 20 seconds of remaining fuel. 4 months ago, a deceased rapper by the name Gunyu had his corpse on stage while fans were partying around his body. The average person wastes 5 months of their lives waiting for red lights to turn green. Cruise ships have morgues, just in case someone, you know, during the trip. If you have red eyes after swimming, it's not from chlorine. It's from the chlorine mixing with other people's urine. The furthest part of the ocean from land is Point Nemo. If you get stuck there, you're not coming back. Sunburn are your cells dying to avoid being cancerous. Most laugh tracks and shows are people from the 50s, which means you're hearing the laughter of dead people. Yeah, there's a lot more, like for part 14.
What he said about Point Nemo, man. Now that I'm thinking about it, was Nemo with the movie, is that based off that point? You guys know, man, our movies and medias, now that I've been watching these videos with you guys, they're really based off of like some horrifying stories. That's something to keep in mind. And the thing about Gruner, I didn't even believe about that until I guess this video confirmed it. I remember seeing it trending, but I assumed it was fake. Why on stage though? Edit. We've been doing this, man. We can spot them out.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. If you were to be pulled into a black hole, the point of gravity from your head to your toes is so powerfully different that the closer you get, they start to stretch and pull apart. It's called spaghettification. A body can swell to 3 times the normal size, especially if the person passes away in a bathtub. In the 1800s, photographing posed dead bodies was a very normal practice. The smell of vomit actually comes from butyric acid, as does the smell of Parmesan cheese. If you shine a flashlight or smartphone on a newborn sea turtle for too long, it will start crawling around in circles, known as the ring of death. It means that the turtle's eyesight has been permanently damaged due to mistaking your lights for the moon that guides it to sea. By doing this, you have doomed that sea turtle to death right after birth. The bacteria in gingivitis is contagious. Be careful who you kiss. Armadillos can carry leprosy and pass it onto humans just by being in proximity. When it comes to heart disease, sometimes the very first symptom is sudden death, meaning you could be perfectly healthy and drop dead because you had heart disease and did not know it. The wondrous smell you get while cutting grass is actually a chemical distress signal. You're smelling the silent screams of your lawn. The outside of your eye prevents your immune system from ever knowing about the inside of your eye. If a puncture allows the two to meet, your immune system may attack and destroy your eye as an invader. Hit the plus sign if you want to learn more facts.
This is
Top in with us, you learning.
I've ever heard. And it ended up being true. But in Canada, there was this legend that one night a bunch of people saw a bright blue light in the sky, and the next day an entire village of people disappeared. It turns out that legend is rooted in something that really happened. This is coming from this week's episode. I have a whole series on urban legends that ended up being true, and it's a very scary listen.
About to check
So
it out.
in Canada in 1930, a fur trapper named Joe LaBelle was riding in the river in his canoe when he came to a village he had seen before. Except this time when he came upon it, it looked like everyone had left in a hurry. Food was still cooking, and a bunch of dogs were barking and super hungry as if they had been left behind. But the strangest part of all of this was in the middle of the community, there was a grave that had been disturbed. And that reminded the fur trapper of a very scary story he had heard. The legend of the Torn Rack, which was this demon that supposedly stalked the area. So he starts looking for someone who might know what happened to these people. They were a nomadic people. It didn't make any sense that they would have left all of their stuff behind.
Okay.
And that's when he finds a man in a hospital who was potentially part of the village. The man is so freaked out. He won't say anything at first, but eventually Joe gets him to talk, and he recognizes one word that the man says. Tornrak, the name of the evil deity that was potentially in the area.
Oh.
The police basically don't believe any of this, but they do acknowledge that before the disappearance, they did see blue lights in the sky that no one has been able to figure out what they were. I get more into the theories of what may have happened in this episode, and I also talk a little bit more about other urban legends that ended up being true.
Top 5 urban legends that turned out to be real. Chuck E. Cheese animatronics move on their own. Chuck E. Cheese has been long rumored to be haunted by animatronic figures that move on their own, even when the power is off. These tales were often dismissed as mere urban legends meant to spook children. However, in 2019, a former employee's testimony brought an eerie truth to light. The employee recounted how during after-hour maintenance, the animatronics would occasionally shift positions or emit sounds despite being turned down. This phenomenon was actually captured on video showing an animatronic character moving its eyes and mouth when the restaurant was closed. The unsettling footage showed the animatronic's eyes flickering to life and their mouths moving silently. One night, the employee was cleaning when they noticed an animatronic had shifted slightly from its usual position. At first, they thought it was just a trick of the light or a mistake, but then the animatronic's eyes glowed eerily in the darkened room. A soft mechanical whirring sound filled the air and its mouth began to move as if it was speaking. Desperate to prove they weren't imagining things, the employees set up a camera the next night. The footage showed the animatronics moving on their own, their eyes darting around and their mouths opening and closing in the darkness. The video spread among the staff, many of whom had had their own unsettling experiences. Some reported hearing faint, childlike laughter when the restaurant was empty, while others felt cold spots and the sensation of being watched. If you have the guts, follow for the next urban legend.
Creepy facts about your body you're gonna wish you didn't know. When you go down a drop on a roller coaster and you suddenly feel your stomach drop, it's not just you feeling nervous. What you're feeling are your organs actually moving. Have you ever noticed that an older person in your life seems to have very long, large ears? That's because your ears will never stop growing. Across your lifetime, you will spend an average of an entire year just sitting on a toilet. When we see brains outside of the human body, they usually look pretty solid, but your brain, while inside your skull while you're alive, is actually very soft. It's like melted butter.
Personally, this woman really wanted to bring her bottle of water on a flight. But if you've ever traveled on an airplane, you'll know that you can't carry more than 3.4 ounces of liquid with you. So in 2013, she came up with a genius loophole. She carried a large can of water with her, but the water was frozen. And according to the law, you can't carry water in a liquid state, but you can bring frozen water. Moving on, you can't bring alcohol to a music festival. But in 2017, a man named Alex Diamond came up with a genius idea. A few days before the Electric Zoo Music Festival, he went to the site and buried a water bottle filled with alcohol, pinning the exact location on Google Maps. A few days later, when the festival started, he went to the same spot and dug up the bottle. Finally, this kid was having fun playing games on his computer, until his parents told him to go outside and play. So he took his computer outside and started playing there.
Those 5,000 IQ moves, man. The hell are we seen watching? Those are definitely some edits, right?
This might be the scariest thing that ever happened to America. We all know that America had a lot of scary things happen to it. But this has to be the scariest thing ever. On August 29th, 1968, every single TV in America shut down. But a demonic whispering was coming from every TV in America. Many people believed that it was the devil trying to get across some message. But nobody really understood it. This lasted for about 25 seconds, then all the TVs came back on. To this day, nobody knows what caused it or why it happened, but everybody believes it was the works of the devil.
What do you guys think? What was that? What was the cause of all those TVs going out and for this playing that audio? Was a message trying to get through? Or were they testing something? Because you know how they be testing stuff with the TVs. Some questions, man, that's coming into my mind.
After a massive manhunt, the missing hiker has been found alive after 10 days. And how he survived is crazy. 34-year-old Lucas only planned an afternoon hike in California's oldest state park. So he set out with very few supplies and not even a t-shirt, expecting to return home in a few hours. However, he soon became disorientated as recent wildfires had destroyed familiar landmarks. And since Lucas didn't tell anyone where he was going, the alarm was only raised after he missed Father's Day lunch 5 days after he set out. This sparked a massive manhunt involving nearly 300 people and multiple agencies. While they searched, Lucas wandered the forest, slept on wet leaves, foraged for berries, and drank water he collected from his boots. Without a t-shirt or any supplies to start a fire, he developed hypothermia. He was stalked by a mountain lion, and things got really bad when he got injured after slipping on a wet rock face. Lucas lost over 30 pounds and spent the last 48 hours just lying there screaming for help. On day 10, a drone and a sniffer dog finally found him, and at last he was reunited with his family waiting for him on the forest's edge.
Man, goes to show you, everybody needs to have some natural, I guess, camping ability or skills, because you never know what can happen. Or you be put in that situation. Where's this guy?
Scariest interviews with serial killers. Serial killer John Hughes. John Hughes was convicted of 15 murders and sentenced to life in prison in 2010.
Damn.
When he was interviewed and asked if he would kill again, he said this.
Because you'd kill again.
More than positive. I got different thoughts. Then he was asked if he felt bad for the murders he had committed, and this is what he said.
You don't feel bad about killing anyone?
Not personally, that I've personally done myself, no.
Why?
Wrong place, wrong time. All over more.
Very eerie, man. No remorse.
Do you know how weird time is? If you have two twins that are 20 years old and you sent one of them to the star Sirius at 99% the speed of light and then flew back again, the twin who stayed on Earth would be 37 years old and the twin who was traveling would only be 22 years old. Every single person on Earth, including you, is living in the past because our brains don't perceive an event until about 80 milliseconds after it's already happened. It is a very fine line, but that's why some physicists argue that there's no such thing as the present moment. The way that you perceive the passing of time is heavily dependent on the language you use. People in most Western cultures perceive the passing of time as being left to right, because that's how we write, but other cultures perceive it as up to down, east to west, or right to left. Time is actually passing faster for your face than it is for your feet, because the closer you are to the center of the Earth, the slower time moves. A year at the top of Mount Everest is 15 microseconds shorter than it is at sea level.
Wow.
This strange creature be? An alien, or perhaps a demon? What we need to keep in mind is that when the body of a fur-bearing animal decays, especially if it's in a moist area or submerged in water, the fur will often fall off before the skin decomposes. And it is for that reason that I am very confident we are looking at nothing more than the corpse of a decomposing monkey.
Creepiest home camera footage. In 2017, a mother in Billings, Montana woke up in the middle of the night to a notification on her phone. Her phone was synced to a baby monitor she had set up in her infant daughter's room. On this night, upon being alerted, she opened the app expecting to see her daughter awake in the crib. But instead she saw this. A man she didn't know is seen crouched down in the room. She saw this and ran to the room to retrieve her daughter and run out the house. She didn't see anyone in the room but wasn't exactly looking. When she called the cops, they arrived and conducted a search of the home, but didn't find anything. A very odd detail is that it was found that nothing but the remote to a dog shock collar was stolen from the house. Who this man is and how he got in the house is still unknown.
That's crazy. That's really like one of my worst fears. Like somebody's in your house and you have no idea they were there. Like, that's very creepy and eerie, man. How somebody can be in your house and they can be in that vicinity for so long and you have no idea. That's insane. Where's this guy? Edit. Call it out like you see it. He's known for his edits.
These are things humans should never hear, part 1.
Okay.
What I'm about to show you is a simulation of what happened to Alaskan Flight 261 following a catastrophic loss of pitch control, killing all 88 people on board. This is real audio footage of the plane going down between the pilots and air traffic control. The plane went inverted, meaning it was flying upside down, and just listen to how calm the pilots are.
No survivors? So calm. Damn.
Genius people who beat the system, part 1. This student was only allowed to have a one-page cheat sheet. So they wrote a whole page of notes in blue pen and another page in red pen. They then brought 3D glasses to class, so when they looked through the blue side, they could see the red pen, and when they looked through the red side, they could see the blue pen. This guy's new job required a photo of him in a suit for their new website. But since he doesn't own a suit, he just photoshopped his face over this guy's face, and honestly, it looks pretty real. A girl's dad went to Vegas for 5 days, and put a camera in the living room to make sure she didn't have any parties. But the girl wasn't going to let that stop her from partying, so she came up with a pretty creative solution. This parking spot says only green vehicles can park there, but I think the owner of this car took that a bit too literally. This kid's mom told him that food wasn't allowed in the living room and his tablet wasn't allowed in the kitchen, so it's safe to say that he beat the system.
People, man. When they want to beat the system, they'll think of something. What the hell is that?
God. This creature, nay, this nightmare, is something so incredibly rare. It is likely that none of you have ever heard tell of its kind before. It's called a turtle.
What?
Here's some of the greatest conspiracy theories of all time. Part 4. The Grinch has a well-known backstory about hating Christmas. However, eventually in the movie, his heart grows 3 sizes and he loves Christmas once again. But this story may continue longer than we think. It is clear that the Grinch isn't exactly right in the head, but during one of the Grinch's wacky stunts, he could have gotten a head injury. This injury would later take a toll on him as he grew old and caused him to lose his memory. After him and his dog died, they were given a new life in a realm called Halloween Town, where they now lived as Jack Skellington and Zero. He later reunites with his love for Christmas, just like he had when he was alive. Both eventually wear a Santa suit, both deliver presents, and both have a dog companion. It may be possible that How the Grinch Stole Christmas and The Nightmare Before Christmas are tied together.
Connected, man? Media's connecting?
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 16. Kangaroos are absolutely terrifying, and if you mess with one, it will likely lure you into the water and attempt to drown you. There's an abandoned Disney park that you aren't allowed to go to, and it was shut down in 1999 because it was infested with free-roaming alligators. The animals were being abused, and an 11-year-old boy died from a flesh-eating bacteria found in the park's waters. In the movie The Wizard of Oz, the lion's costume was made out of a real skinned lion. This is the John Lawson house. No one knows who lives there, but every single day, there are several female mannequins sitting on the front porch wearing a variety of clothing. Their positions and outfits change daily, and many believe this is meant to convey some sort of message. And in 1871, a train crash took place just 200 feet away from the home, killing 22 people. And these mannequins are always pointing toward the crash.
That's some crazy info, especially about those mannequins outside the house. I think somebody commented on, like, they give a reason why that's there, but need to check that out again. But the things we heard about the saying when the skin lions vegan suit, there was a lot of rumors that some weird stuff was going on behind that movie. So, and you know how Hollywood is nowadays. So now imagine back in the days what was going on there.
Inuit tribe crafted tools out of space metal. 10,000 years ago, this meteorite landed in the Arctic in northern Greenland. An entire Inuit community sprang up around it just to make tools from the iron in the meteorite, which resulted in badass stuff like this, a spear made from a narwhal tusk tipped with space metal. They didn't even have enough wood to make fires to actually forge the metal, so they had to cold forge it, just hammering it with giant stones until it was the right shape. The tools were so valuable, they were traded as far away as Norway.
Damn. It kind of sounds like a Wakanda freaking like origin story. How the metal just fall to earth and they just made weapons out of it or just forged it. It's actually insane. The parallels between those two freaking
when the bravest bear in history was just a cub, his mother was slain by hunters, and the poor orphan was carried off to a train station in Iran. But when he was rescued by Polish soldiers fleeing the Soviet Union, they bottle-fed him back to health with milk and honey, and on cold nights he even cuddled up next to them in their tents. Imitating the soldiers, he learned how to smoke, drink, and wrestle, and when the men went on patrol, he'd march alongside them on his hind legs. When a spy broke into the Polish camp, he sniffed him out while hiding in the showers, and when the intruder laid eyes on his furry foe, his panic scream alerted every soldier within miles to his presence. But when the Poles boarded British boats bound for the Italian campaign of World War II, they were presented with a strict policy prohibiting pets on their ships. Yet not willing to leave the brown bear behind, they found a loophole and formally enrolled him into the Polish army as a private. During the famous Battle of Monte Cassino, the Germans had fortified a monastery upon a hill and had devastatingly repulsed 3 prior attacks. But carrying crates of ammunition that would normally require 4 strong men, the courageous cub charged up the hill, successfully resupplying the Polish artillery. And even in the face of heavy enemy fire, he never dropped a single crate, allowing Allied forces to capture the stronghold and gaining promotion to corporal for his bravery. After the war ended, the Iron Curtain prevented the Poles from returning home, and so the brave bear was brought to a zoo in Scotland, where he was frequently visited by his fighting friends, who would often bring him treats and jump into his enclosure for a good wrestle. And it's said that for the rest of his life, he would happily stand up and salute whenever he heard Polish. When you're the most ferocious furry fighting force to ever fight for the free world, they don't just call you the bravest bear, they call you Corporal Wojtek.
Could you live on a pillar for decades without coming down? It sounds impossible, but this was actually a way of life that emerged around the 5th century CE in the Eastern Roman Empire. These Christian ascetics were known as stylites. They would eat, sleep, fast, write, all on top of a pillar for years without coming down. They would rely on the locals to give them food. The earliest known stylite was a man named Simeon. He was a Christian ascetic from the 5th century CE near the city of Aleppo in Syria. He wanted to be left alone, so he climbed up a pillar. But he actually became more popular when he climbed up and started living on here, so his plan sort of backfired. He ended up spending around 37 years living on a pillar. Travelers would climb up ladders to reach him just to have a conversation. Certainly an interesting way of life.
How the hell they stayed up there for so long?
So this preacher from Zimbabwe claims he can walk on air.
Okay. Is this an edit?
Well, I'm convinced. Hail Messiah! There's definitely definitely no other explanation for why his feet were off the ground, like people on the side holding him up. That's definitely not what happened. It's not like you can see the shadow of the door closing on his left when you slow down the footage. Just shut up and tell me where to donate my money. I mean, come on, it's not like people use religion to scam people. I mean, yes, the preacher has a nicer house than all of us, but then again, he walks on air and we don't.
Case closed.
Is he scamming like that? And people will believe in it?
Terrifying sounds extinct animals used to emit, and the last one's the worst. If you don't know this extinct mega chicken, you must be living your life under a rock. This is a dodo bird. 3 feet tall, 45 pounds, and a pair of chicken wings that are more useless than a penguin's. It can make an omelet for a family and produce a sound that would cause me to move to Mars. The lizard that got into your bag of tread, the velociraptor. Or should I say Jurassic Myth, because they didn't look like this at all. Hollywood lied to you. At least the film's fuck-up looks more like a Utah raptor. This is actually what a velociraptor looks like. It's basically also just a giant chicken. Moving 25 miles per hour and hunting in packs isn't the scary part. It's the way they sound. The only difference between this next animal and my meat is that it went extinct, the Titanoboa. And if this BGC's length at 50 fuck-no feet isn't impressive enough, how about its 3 feet in girth? This twisty telephone pole could squeeze at 400 psi, crushing any 20-foot crocodile that lived at the time. Damn. And this no-bro makes a sound like no other. The extinct blubberbuzz that used to swallow the megalodon, the Leviathan whale. This living sea monster is a distant cousin of our daily sperm whale.
What?
Except unlike the living load we have today that primarily consumes giant squid, the Leviathan had no predators and ate everything. And the sound alone is enough to terrify me. Congratulations, you made it to the final animal. And I'm sorry you have to hear this, but the T-Rex doesn't actually look this way. Real-life Reptar looks much more terrifying with a haircut like Grandpa. And Bono, I have news for you. Their arms weren't useless. It said that they could have bench pressed up to 400 pounds. And did I mention they can also swim? The sound they made is weird, but the closest relative they have alive today is also weird. It's the chicken. I'm so sorry it had to end this way.
What?
Enjoy.
Okay. Chicken is related to the T-Rex. The more you know.
Sorry for being so unprofessional. Whoa! Wow! No way!
Edit.
What?
Hey, my name is Ajax, and in case you didn't know, I am the first and only animal made to make music born of rock, stardust, and mold.
How many of you guys remember this girl? She went absolutely viral in 2020 for making faces in court. But before we get into her story, my name is Ashley, and if you guys like crime, creepy, and unbelievable stories, check out my YouTube channel or my TikTok for more content. So this girl's name is Isabella Guzman, and in 2013, she fatally stabbed her mother over 79 times. The video that went viral was actually from 2013, but somehow it took 7-8 years for it to reach mass audience. So initially, Isabella was quite young when she started exhibiting a lot of behavioral issues. She was living with her mother at the time, but when she was 7 years old, she was sent to live with her father. After a few years went by, her father then sent her to go live with her mother again when she was a teenager. And in August of 2013, the relationship between Isabella and her mother quickly deteriorated. They were fighting quite often, and on August 27th, they had an argument that ended with Isabel spitting in her mother's face. The following morning, Isabella's mother received an email saying, "You will pay." Obviously, she was terrified and didn't know what else to do with her daughter, so she called the police. The The police arrived to her home and then talked to Isabella, telling her that if she didn't straighten up, that her mother could legally kick her out of the house. Isabella's mother then called her biological father to come talk to Isabella. He came over to their house and had a long talk with her in the backyard, talking to her about respect. According to him, he thought that they had made a lot of progress, but then a few hours later, everything changed. August 28, 2013, around 9:30 p.m., Isabella's mother, Yeonmi Hoi, arrived home. She told her husband she was going to head upstairs and take a shower. That's when her husband hears these awful screams coming from upstairs. Obviously, he runs upstairs to see what's wrong, and when he gets to the bathroom, he sees Isabella slamming the bathroom door shut, locking herself and her mother in the bathroom. He tried as hard as he could to get that door open, but it was locked. All he heard was screaming and an obvious struggle going on. Then he saw blood seeping through the bottom of the door and called 911. Then, as the door was opening, he heard his wife say the word Jehovah, and then Isabella walked out of the bathroom with a bloody knife. Apparently, Isabella didn't say a single thing, just stared at him and walked away like nothing had happened. Runs into the bathroom to check on his wife when he discovers that she had been brutally stabbed 79 times. Unfortunately, she passed away. By the time police arrived, Isabella had run away from the home, but police quickly found her the following day, hiding in a nearby parking garage. On September 5, 2013, Isabella was brought into court for the first time, and that's where we see the video of her making all these faces. Later find out that Isabella was actually suffering from schizophrenia and had delusions for years. According to her, she didn't remember that she was stabbing her mother. She thought that she was stabbing a woman named Cecilia in order to save the world. The judge accepted her plea of mental insanity and sentenced her to a mental facility. In June 2021, Isabella was given permission to leave the hospital for her therapy sessions. She has expressed remorse for what happened, but also said that her mother was extremely abusive towards her.
Dr. Disrespect was sent to jail this morning. This tweet is going viral for literally exposing him. I don't want to read some of this stuff on TikTok because this video might get taken down. So a former Twitch employee just exposed him for... Oh my gosh. There's no name that was mentioned for the person that he was doing it to, but it has came out that it was Dr. Disrespect. Now, as a lot of people know, Dr. Disrespect has been banned off of Twitch for like a couple years now, and the reason was always unknown. Dr. Disrespect, even on stream, say like, I can't say like why I was banned on Twitch. It's like a whole legal thing right now. Basically, he couldn't leak it because it was all legal, and like, you just couldn't tell all of his audience. The fact that he was hiding something that maybe was this is... That is so disgusting, dude. But he doesn't, like, I know you can't really say that. It doesn't look like a person that would do that. Like, bro is a white, bro has millions of dollars. I don't think he would ever do something like that. That's exactly what the comments say underneath this tweet. Fake news, the information isn't confirmed by Twitch. Honestly, this whole tweet is just speculation. Let me know if y'all think this is true, and what do y'all think about this? Dr. Disrespect was actually talking to a minor. He just confirmed this on Twitter. This wasn't a joke. Everybody thought the news was fake, and that's why he was banned on Twitch, because he was talking to someone underage inappropriately, but no. This is the tweet that he just tweeted. I'll just cut to the juicy part of it. Were there Twitch whisper messages with an individual minor back in 2017? The answer is yes. He was speaking to someone underage, which is fine, right? These were casual, mutual conversations that sometimes lean too much in the direction of being inappropriate. I guess Twitch saw that in his DM, and that's why he got banned. Oh, that's insane that he literally admitted this. That's actually crazy. He did say, but nothing more. Nothing illegal happened. No pictures, no crimes. But you know, that's good. I mean, it was just Twitch whispers. But like, bro, this is so surprising. Like, he has a kid. He's a fam, multi-millionaire, like 6'6". Like, you would never think a guy like this would ever get in, like, a... You never think he would get caught up in something like this. Yeah, what do y'all think about this? Apparently, he didn't do anything illegal, but the rumors were true. This is what all this...
That's crazy, man. Dr. Disrespect, you know, is one of the biggest streamers in the world. I don't understand why people in positions like that, they always... It's like they can't control themselves. They always have to do something immoral, man. Man, people was always wondering why he got banned. I still remember he got freaking banned on Twitch or something like that. It was trending, and people kept asking why. But he can never give an answer. But now, I guess you know why. You wouldn't want something like that to come out. That's basically going to end his career. I don't know how we're going to come out from this. Never in a million years would people think this was the reason why Dr. Disrespect was banned.
Streamers had to say about Dr. Disrespect. Explicit messages to a minor. This is the saddest one of all, Tim the Tatman. As you know, Dr. Disrespect and Tim the Tatman went way back. They always played games together. I remember watching Tim the Tatman stream and he was like all excited to play with Dogfiling once he switched over to YouTube. Now that this came out, he posted this very sad story on Twitter. It was like, if the messages are true, then I just can't see myself playing with them, which makes sense. You can't support this type of behavior. By the way, guys, this isn't a made-up rumor. He did do this. He literally tweeted that the answer is yes, he did send Twitch messages to a individual that was a minor back in 2017, and they did. Some of them weren't inappropriate. It's crazy seeing everybody respond. Jacksepticeye says effing disgusting when he puts like the tweet out. Pokimane just tweets out yuck. That's crazy. Ray says Doctor disgusting. 40,000 likes. That's insane. Even Nadia responds. Never mind. Who cares about Nadia? My bad. And of course Nick Merckx responded. I'm not gonna put that up on here. Get a lot of extra stuff to say, so I'll go on Twitter and look at that. I don't know, man. The guy's like 6'6", millions of dollars, his family, kids, and he was doing this type of stuff. And even though this was a while ago, this was a couple years ago that he got banned on Twitch. I don't know. What do y'all think about this? This is really sad.
Like I said, never in a million years would you expect someone like Dr. Disrespect for that's the reason why he was banned. And people kind of say it came out like the same situation. Remember when they said he had that cheating scandal with his wife or something like that? But I think that was a separate situation. I don't know if that's connected or not, but damn, I remember I saw that freaking trending on yesterday. Freaking Kai unfollowed him, just like everybody making freaking pictures about it and memes and stuff. I'm just like, it's freaking serious accusation, man. I don't get why people in power, when they have that, it's like when they get the clout and the money and influence, they just can't control themselves. I truly don't get it, Seekers. Hey, you tell me down below, man, what do you guys think about that Dr. Disrespect case, man? Nobody in a million years would have guessed that. That's it, man, for this video for you guys today. If you guys made it with me to the end, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support. Like I said, guys, we're doing these daily uploads. You guys gonna catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.